So, my first thought when I first found out about the missing 411 National Park cases and how many there were was immediately fairies. And here's why. But first, I know I've been away for a while. I'm not even going to really get into it that much. I'm a busy person, but the one thing you might want to know is that I have been so busy because my love and I have been working with Antoine Lee on his art installation for Burning Man this year. It is called the Solar Shrine. It is essentially a modern Egyptian temple. We are going to be burning it there, but it is built to honor Ra and the ancestors. And if you know anything about Egyptian mythology, you should totally check it out. It's really, really cool stuff. But yeah, I am definitely going to be trying to upload some video and all of that. I really want to share with you guys what we've been working on because we've been building this thing for literally months now, and I am exhausted and completely depleted, but I have a few days to regenerate before we actually hit the road and start getting out there. So hang around and we'll talk more about that maybe later. But yeah, after this video, you probably won't see me for like another month because I'm going to be in the desert. Woo! All right, let's get into this because this is a really interesting topic and I am obsessed. So what am I on about? If you've never heard of the missing 411 cases, in particular the national park ones, because these happen outside of national parks as well, but I'm specifically focusing on the national park ones because that's how I became aware of these. I didn't know that they were referred to as missing 411. I didn't know about, what's his name? Is it Christopher Politis? I can't even remember. I haven't even read any of his books yet at this point. But I didn't know about any of this stuff. And you guys, it is crazy. So there are commonalities that happen between all of these missing 411 cases that is what classifies them as these, right? 411 being the number you call for information, so missing 411 is missing information, which might help clarify for you if you've never heard of these. So I have a list of these commonalities. It's really weird shit, y'all. Sometimes the people who go missing are found again. They may or may not be alive, but they're even found under really questionable circumstances. So one of the first things is typically people who go missing are on either end of the spectrum when it comes to their intellectual or physical health, right? So intellectually they might be geniuses or they might be autistic and not be able to communicate in common ways, right? Or if it's a physical thing, they might be in some way physically impaired and go missing in impossible circumstances, or they might be really physically fit and really well prepared for trekking through the wilderness. So it's usually people on either end of these extremes, right? That's the first thing that's interesting about it. The second thing, the second commonality, I should say, is that these people typically disappear in the mid to late afternoon. And along that same route, there seems to be, in almost every case of these people, they not only go missing in the mid to late afternoon, but there's suddenly some kind of inclement weather, right? Some kind of storm or something rolls through, whether it's a blizzard or a rainstorm or whatever, that makes searching for them really difficult. And these are even sometimes on days that the weather is supposed to be sunny and blue skied all day. It'll just come out of nowhere. So these tend to happen in similar locations around the world. And I've even seen, if you compare it with maps of like the cave systems around this entire globe, a lot of these incidents happen in like the same area as these cave systems, which is interesting in its own right. Like completely on its own, that's just like, what's going on there? But now we're going to get to some of the really good stuff, okay? So a lot of these people who go missing near or are found, or some trace of them at least, may be found near bodies of water, near what's referred to as boulder fields, and we'll talk about that more in a second, or around berry bushes, okay? And all of these things are like that. That was the one thing that was immediately like, oh shit, that is fae as fuck. Okay, so I'll get back to that. If they are found alive, they often have little to no memory of what they've experienced. They've lost time. Usually they don't think they've even been gone in a lot of cases. They just think they stepped away for like a minute or two and then come back, and like it's been a few days, a few weeks, in some cases months or even years that they've been missing, okay? And they just lose all this time. It's crazy. That is also extremely fairy. If you know anything about fairies, you know that people who were kidnapped and taken to fairy would often think they were only there for 3 days or something, right? And when they would get back to the human world, it will have been like, 300 years or some shit, and everyone that they've known and loved is dead, right? So, very sus. Okay, so if they're found dead, if they're found deceased, then it's usually an unknown cause. Like a lot of the time it gets marked as like, they were killed off by like, I can't even think of the word right now, but the weather, being exposed to the elements, right? Exposure. A lot of the times it gets marked as that, but that's not necessarily always the case. It's just usually pretty inconclusive what actually killed them. And sometimes they're found in really weird conditions that, like, it couldn't have been an animal. It couldn't, like, there's literally just no explanation for it. Weird ass shit. A lot of the times, if they're found, whether dead or alive, they've been found in, or some sign of them, again, maybe just clothing or whatever, is found in an area that was previously searched. It could be months down the road, and they'll see something and it's like, well, there was like so many people, like hundreds of people combed through this area and didn't see anything. So a lot of the times when they go missing, they go missing in such a way that their tracks just disappear. Like they'll have tracks to a certain point and then they're just gone. Sometimes, like, I've found stories of people who have literally, it looks like they just like walked into a cliff wall and there's like no leading away from that. In that same vein, a lot of the times in these cases, canines, when they bring the canine units in to search for these people, the dogs are really confused, or they just straight up can't find any trace of them. Or it's like the vanished tracks. They'll follow it to a certain point and then it's just like, where'd they go? One that I thought was interesting is missing shoes. A lot of the times these people, like, they'll find maybe just one shoe, or maybe they'll find both shoes that are completely clean, or the people will be found just without their shoes. There's always something with shoes. It's really strange. Like, a lot of the cases, yes, they might take off clothing or whatever, which I can't remember what it's called, but there's actually, that can happen sometimes when you're getting too cold. You can actually think you're getting too hot, and it makes you just start removing clothing because you think you're sweating, and then you actually will die of exposure. And maybe in some cases that is something that is going on, but there definitely seems to be some weird thing with shoes, whether or not other clothing gets removed. Now, again, if they're found alive or dead, they are often found in places that are impossible to reach, whether they don't have the time to get to those spaces in the amount of time they've been gone. There was one story that I found of a child who had gone missing. When he was found, I think he was found like only a day or so later. But he was like 12 miles away through really rugged terrain. And this child was like 4 years old, I think, and didn't have any extra gear with him or anything. And there was actually a professional survivalist that like makes TV shows that went and tried to mimic the route that this boy would have had to have taken. and like he couldn't do it, and that was a professional. So it's weird things like that. Okay. Um, if they're found dead, it's like kind of similar cases. There's cases where people have gone missing, and when they are found, they might be found completely clean at like the top of a completely like steep ledge that there's like no viable way that they could have gotten up there by themselves. Okay, so think things like that. All of these things to me definitely scream fairy. We're going to talk about some of them, but like I said, this is going to probably get a little long, and I want to go deep into these things. So I plan on making further videos on this topic for sure, because I have not been this fascinated by a topic in a hot minute. So first thing, with the whole people being found near bodies of water, boulder fields, and berry bushes. All of these in different ways say fairy for different reasons. Now, for those of you who are not super familiar with fairy lore, fairies are associated with the spirits of the dead, because fairy, as in fairyland, is also said to be in the underworld, which is the same place that the ancestors live, right? The spirits of the dead. So fairies aren't necessarily spirits that have ever had corporeal form, so they're not dead in that way, but they are in the same place from the same place, right? And so in a lot of traditional cultures, for sure in like Celtic and I believe like Greek, Native American. I don't quote me on any of this. Like I said, I want to dive deep later on, but a lot of ancient cultures have associated natural bodies of water as portals to the underworld. Okay, kind of like caves have always been seen very similarly. Again, remember the cave thing too. So that's another interesting thing to keep in mind. But the same can be said for reflective surfaces, right? Like if you think like mirrors in magic spells, right? You use a reflective surface sometimes to call in spirits when you're trying to work with a non-corporeal entity. It can be like almost a portal in a way. So that's really interesting to me, right? This connection between these bodies of water, people going missing there. And again, when in these cases, they of course are going to search the bodies of water to try to find if the person drowned or whatever, and they, don't get found. Or if they do, again, it's really weird. Like they might not have water in their lungs, which would imply that they didn't die by drowning, but somehow they were still found in the body of water. So weird shit, right? Now, with the boulder fields, okay, I was like, what the hell is a boulder field? I Googled this. These are just fields that tend to be like in valleys or at the foots of mountains and things that have like piles of rocks, right? And in a lot, especially Native American and Celtic lore, and I believe, I want to say like Norse, rocks, and maybe some others, let me know if you know, please tell me, but these piles of rocks, not only they have been like mounds, as in like created to send the dead to the afterlife, right? That's where you bury your dead, is in a mound. So again, that underworld connection, but also in a lot of fairy lore or lore about non-corporeal entities in a lot of cultures, they live in these piles of stones, right? So it's kind of weird that so many people would go missing in these areas. And when it comes to berry bushes, there's actually a lot of stories in fairy lore, especially in Celtic for sure. Again, when I'm talking about fairies, I'm not just talking about the Celtic ideal, and that's just what the Celts called them, but you can find fairy creatures in literally every culture around the world. So we're going to talk about all of this in future videos. It's so interesting. But berry bushes. So there are so many stories about berry bushes in fairy stories where like kids get kidnapped for picking berries from fairy trees, right? And a lot of the stories of people missing around berry bushes in national parks, a lot of them seem to be children. It's Very suspicious. All right, so this is getting considerably longer than I planned on this first video being, but I really appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned. Like I said, I'm going to be gone to Burning Man for about a month, but I plan on hitting this hard when I get back. I've already started compiling information, and I want to talk about all of these things in depth and maybe share some of these stories with you guys. I don't know, but it's gonna be good. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys soon. Oh, by the way, you did know that fairies are scary, right? I should have started with that.